They say that some cities die, but others vanish. Not destroyed, not abandoned, simply swallowed, erased, pulled into the earth as if reality itself rejected their existence. Tonight we step into the heart of Arabia's empty quarter, the Rub al-Khali. A desert so vast that even the wind forgets its way, and a place where legends whisper of a city built on wealth, arrogance, and secrets that defied heaven itself. A city the world called Ubar, but the desert called cursed. Imagine standing in a world of nothingness, no mountains, no rivers, not even a sound. Just dunes taller than cathedrals and silence deep enough to make your heartbeat echo. Somewhere beneath this endless ocean of sand, explorers believe an entire civilization sleeps, not lost to time, but buried alive. For centuries, travelers spoke of a shining kingdom ruled by mighty men said to be so tall, so powerful, that their shadows frightened even the desert wolves. They carved pillars that stabbed the sky, traded frankincense worth more than gold, and built markets where caravans stretched farther than the horizon. The city was called Iram of the Pillars, or Ubar, the city of brass, but its beauty hid a darker truth. Its people became cruel, defiant, blinded by pride. They challenged the heavens, and the heavens answered. But before we meet their fate, we step into a time long before cities fell. The night is cold. A caravan approaches from the west, torches flickering like dying stars. The travelers speak of a place beyond imagination, a city whose gates glowed like fire in the moonlight. They speak of markets overflowing with jewels, kings draped in crimson robes, and towers so tall that they seemed to pierce the clouds. But when others followed their path, they found nothing, only sand, endless sand. So was Ubar real, or just a mirage born from desert madness? Generations passed, and the legend became a ghost story. Nomads warned their children, "Do not follow strange lights in the desert at night. They lead to Iram." And no one returns. Some claim to hear whispers beneath the ground, as if something ancient pressed against the earth from below, waiting to breathe again. Others swore they saw ruins appear at dusk, only to vanish by dawn. For a civilization so powerful to disappear without a trace, something extraordinary had to happen. But the desert kept its secrets locked, until one day, it slipped. Fast forward to the late 20th century. A team of explorers, scientists, and dreamers began searching the vast Arabian desert with one goal: to prove Ubar wasn't just a myth. But how do you find a lost city beneath dunes taller than skyscrapers? The answer came in the form of a machine looking down from space, NASA's shuttle-mounted radar system. For the first time in human history, technology peeled back the desert like pages of an ancient book. What they saw stunned them. Hidden beneath layers of shifting sand, faint lines, ancient caravan routes appeared, converging towards a single point deep in the empty quarter. A place where no modern settlement existed. A place where the desert seemed disturbed, as if something enormous had collapsed. The team moved closer. They traveled for days, crossing scorching dunes, each step sinking into the past. The wind roared like an angry spirit, and the temperature rose high enough to warp metal. But they kept going, following the spectral lines revealed from the sky. Finally, after a journey that felt like walking through eternity, they reached the coordinates. The ground was cracked, broken. A giant hole yawned beneath their feet, so deep it seemed to swallow the sunlight. And at the edge of this abyss lay massive stone blocks, weathered pillars, and fragments of ancient walls. The explorers looked at each other in disbelief. Had they finally found Ubar? The smell of dust and ancient air rose from the pit, cold and dry, as if breathed by something that had slept for thousands of years. The ruins hinted at structures once magnificent buildings supported by towering pillars, foundations carved with symbols erased by time. And there was something else. Something that made even seasoned archaeologists step back in fear. The entire city had collapsed into the earth, not destroyed, not burned, collapsed, as if the ground beneath Ubar had opened like a mouth. and swallowed it whole. Whispers spread instantly. The old legend spoke of a people punished by the heavens, buried for their arrogance in a single night. And staring into that chasm, it was hard not to believe the stories. Hard not to imagine the cries of citizens as the land beneath their feet split apart. Hard not to picture pillars falling like dying giants, swallowed by darkness. But scientists needed proof. And when they descended into the sinkhole, what they found only deepened the mystery. Stone walls tilted at impossible angles. Sand-filled chambers frozen in time. Fragments of pottery, collapsed arches, and evidence of ancient fires that burned hot enough to blacken stone. Something terrible had happened here. Something sudden and final. Above them, the desert winds wailed like voices carried from another age. And as the sun dipped below the dunes, the shadows stretched long and thin like the fingers of the past reaching out, begging to be remembered. But this was only the surface of the mystery. Because as the excavations deepened, the researchers uncovered traces of something far older, foundations that didn't match known Arabian architecture, carvings of towering beings, and symbols that hinted at a civilization the world had forgotten. Ubar wasn't just a city, it was a warning, and the deeper they dug, the darker the truth became. As the excavations continued, the silence of the desert grew heavier, thicker, almost watchful, as if something ancient didn't want to be disturbed. Lights flickered in the night camp, strange winds circled the site, and more than one researcher claimed they felt the ground tremble beneath their feet, like a sleeping beast shifting in its slumber. Whether it was imagination or something else, no one could say. But what they uncovered next left no room for doubt. Ubar had lived, and Ubar had died in a way no ordinary city ever had. At the lowest point of the sinkhole, beneath layers of crushed pillars, they found charred remnants of wooden beams and fragments of walls fused together by intense heat. Not the kind caused by ordinary fire. Something larger, something violent, something catastrophic. The ancient stories spoke of a roaring wind sent from above, a storm unlike anything mankind had witnessed. And standing inside that subterranean grave, the researchers began to understand why. It wasn't just the buildings that had collapsed. The entire city had been annihilated. But who were these people, and why did they fall? Old manuscripts and desert traditions spoke of a tribe called the Mighty, towering, powerful. A people who carved homes in mountains, built palaces in valleys, and raised pillars that seemed to challenge the very sky. Their king Shaddad ibn Ad dreamed of creating a paradise on earth, a city to rival the heavens. A city so magnificent that even the angels would look upon it with envy. And so he ordered the construction of Iram, a city of unimaginable beauty, adorned with gold, jewels, and towering white pillars that shimmered like starlight in the desert sun. But with wealth came arrogance, with power came cruelty. The people of Ubar believed nothing could touch them, not man, not nature, not even the divine. But pride has a price. The legends say a messenger came to warn them, to remind them to change their ways, to abandon their arrogance. But they laughed. They mocked, they turned their backs. And the heavens responded. A storm rose not of rain, not of sand, but of force. A wind so fierce it uprooted trees, tore tents from the earth, and lifted grown men into the sky like dry leaves. It raged for days, nights, weeks, until the mighty tribe of Da was no more. Their city, their glory, their empire silenced beneath the unforgiving dunes. And now, thousands of years later, the ruins in this sinkhole seem to echo the same fate described in the ancient texts. Buildings twisted as if ripped apart by invisible hands. Foundations tilted like ships sunk in a frozen ocean. The ground caved in as though the desert itself had swallowed a city that defied divine warning. But the team wasn't done. They pushed deeper, collecting artifacts, tracing ancient tunnels, piecing together a timeline. Every discovery painted the same picture. Ubar had been a thriving center of trade, connecting Arabia to India, Africa, and the Mediterranean. The wealth that passed through its gates was legendary. Frankincense alone made the city a jewel of the desert. But in the end, that wealth had done nothing to save them. Then came the most chilling discovery of all. Deep in one of the subchambers, buried under debris, they found hieroglyph-like markings carved into a stone slab. The symbols showed towering figures with elongated limbs, standing beside massive pillars surrounded by winds spiraling from the sky. It was a story carved in stone of people rising in power, and a storm sent to bring them down. Suddenly, the ancient stories didn't feel like myths anymore. Standing in that dim chamber, the lead archaeologist whispered, "This is the Atlantis of the desert, a city lost, a kingdom erased. Not by water, but by wind, sand, and judgment." The media soon erupted with news. Headlines spoke of NASA's discovery. Scholars debated the identity of D. Historians scrambled to connect the dots. And millions around the world asked the same question. Could a city truly disappear overnight? But the desert holds its secrets tightly. Even today, the dunes shift like living creatures, swallowing what remains of the world that once stood here. The sinkhole still lies in the empty quarter, quiet, mysterious, half-buried once again. And those who visit say the same thing. When you stand on its edge at dusk, when the wind moves through the ruins, you can hear something. A whisper. Like voices calling from the earth. Like a city that refuses to be forgotten. Maybe it's just the wind. Or maybe it's the memory of a civilization that flew too close to power, too deep into pride, and paid the ultimate price. The lost city of Ubar is more than ruins, more than sand, more than legend. It is a reminder, a message carved into time itself, that even the greatest empires can fall, and even the mightiest cities can vanish without a trace. As the sun sets over the empty quarter, the dunes glow red like burning embers. The horizon shimmers. The air holds its breath. And for a moment, just a moment, you can almost imagine the pillars of Iram rising once again, shining across the desert like a dream reborn. But then the wind blows, the sand shifts, and the illusion disappears, leaving only silence, only memory, only the haunting echo of a kingdom lost beneath the sands of eternity. In the end, Ubar is not just a mystery buried in the desert. It is a warning from history, a whisper from those who came before, and a reminder that nothing, no matter how powerful, no matter how proud, is beyond the reach of time. This was the lost city of Ubar, the Atlantis of the desert, a place that lived in glory and died in silence. And as long as the desert breathes, its story will never truly fade.